Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Greetings to all. Welcome to the webinar discussions of Maldives Marine Expo Virtual Edition. My name is Ashif Naifa and I will be a moderator for the evening. Our discussion topic is marine safety and maintenance. I am joined by the leading professionals, each with distinct experience and background on these subjects to give you a valuable insight. Our first panelist is Lieutenant Colonel Mohammad Jamshad from Maldives National Defense Force. Our second panelist is Chief Inspector of Maldives Police Service Mohammad Fazin. And our final panelist is Ms. Erika Palmera, the Marketing Manager of MME Services Private Limited, one of the longest serving companies for maintenance and marine equipment. My first question goes to Mr. Fazin. When was when was Marine Police established and how is Marine Police different from Maldives Coast Guard?
Thank you very much. Maldives Marine Police was established in 2004, and the mandate is uh, to to enforce law and saving the lives and property of people. So there's not much difference, but between the mandate of MNDF and the police. I believe that a vast area, the economic EEZ zone, is also covered by the MNDF. But normally we don't go out to that area. I think MNDF can give a better answer for that question, like their mandate.
Thank you, Mr. Fazil. My next question is for Mr. Jamshad. Maldives Coast Guard has been the forefront of saving lives and sometimes the vessels itself. What are the protocols you follow in an emergency case?
Thank you very much. When we talk about protocols, we follow many protocols. But before we attend a distress call, let's talk about the what protocols before we attend before. We try to maintain the standards of our sailors on board the ships and the vessels, and we try to communicate with the distressed person. And 24/7 we have MRCC, Maritime Rescue Coordination Center, is open 24/7, and we have 191, the toll-free call. So any person in distress can call that number. So the procedure I will just briefly explain. A few it will take few seconds. So the once we get the distress call, the most important thing is we need to know the location of the vessel. Then what type of distress and how many persons on board. We collect these simple informations. While collecting these informations, our vessels will get ready. The nearest vessel, let's say MNDF itself has got different area of operations. From north to south, we have 4 different area of operations. And these area of operations, each area will have a Coast Guard squadron. So that means Coast Guard people will be there with their assets. So anytime we get a distress call from any of this area, from north to south, the Coast Guard squadron will attend. So the MRCC will receive the call and we forward the call to area which follows the distress location. I hope I answered.
Yeah, thank you very much. And Miss Erika, I would like to ask you, in terms of maintenance, how important is it to maintain and regulate the equipment that is being used, and how would this maintenance correlate to the safety of the personnel?
So any mechanical equipment, whether it's a boat or a car or compressor, needs maintenance in order to keep it in safe and reliable conditions. Lack of maintenance can cause damage or expensive repairs and even injury to the persons. So it is important to maintain equipment according to manufacturer's instructions and regulations. So because these instructions, they clearly show how and when maintenance should be carried out. in ME services, our motto is to never compromise on safety. So here, where we service and maintain high pressure breathing air compressors according to the standards of the manufacturer, which is Bauer, and also dive equipment by Scuba Pro, we make sure that we follow these standards. Neglect of maintenance can lead to serious damage and also can lead to serious financial implications because warranties can become void if these operators will not follow the required maintenance for every equipment. And for safety of the personnel who is operating the equipment, maintenance should be followed. And compressors, especially breathing air compressors, they need to be maintained by trained and professional technicians so that it follows the standards of pure breathing air, which is DIN N 12021. So if these standards are not followed, then one must think of the consequences that a contaminated air can lead to.
Thank you so much, Miss Erika. My next question is for both Mr. Fazin and Mr. Jamshad. My question is, in case of emergency on a vessel, can you explain what the captain or crew of the vessel should do, how they should act? And my second question is, and is it important to inform both Marine Police and Coast Guard in such an incident? Firstly, Mr. Fazil.
Yes, it is very important, like to inform the Marine Police and the Coast Guard immediately. At the same time, saving the lives of the passengers and the crew should be the most important thing the captain should do. Like it is always advised to wear life jackets when traveling. So in case of like if there is a fire, if in case if they have to leave, abandon the vessel, they have to make sure that everyone is wearing the life jackets. If there's a lifeboat, they can get on board to the lifeboat. And and also it is important if there are children and women, saving taking care of them. It is very important. Like they are the most vulnerable people. Uh,
Thank you, Mr. Fazil.
that's all.
Mr. Jamshad, what are your thoughts?
Thank you very much. I totally agree with about my colleague from Maldives Police Service. And the first of all, the captain should ensure that the people on board they are safe. Suppose there are any type of distress, like as my colleague said clearly, fire is one of the distress which may face when we are traveling. And let's say if the vessel is aground or capsized or bad weather, there's so many situations will arise, when we are traveling. The first most important thing is call one of the services, either Coast Guard or Marine Police. It's not necessarily they call only Coast Guard or Marine Police. They can call anyone. We are there to save their lives. The next thing is, as my colleague said very clearly, life jacket is very, very important. Their life jacket when in distress. And ensure, not in distress, when they are traveling also wear life jackets. And following rules and regulations. There's so many rules and regulations they should follow, as the mariners should follow. If they follow these rules and regulations, the incidents which occur, the safety wise, it will be very, very much less. And when they're calling at the Marine Police or the Coast Guard, the first most important thing is the location. If we don't know the location, it's very, very difficult to find the distressed vessel. Location is very, very important, and how many persons on board, whether there are children on board, women on board, or the type of distress. These are the simple questions, and I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you. mm, Yes, thank you, Mr. Jamshad. And my next question is for Mr. Fazin. Why should a boat owner consider safety of the vessel and is equipping the vessel with proper safety equipment and expenditure or an investment?
So it is an investment because uh, when it is properly equipped, it can save lives, and the vessel also, the lifetime of the vessel also, like if they properly maintain the vessel, they can run it for a long time. They can use it for a long time, and in case of emergency, like if they have the proper safety equipments, like the life jackets and communication equipments, they can inform and save lives. So it is an investment.
Yes, thank you. Miss Erica, how often would you recommend maintenance of equipment and what are your protocols to carry out a maintenance job?
So the recommendation of maintenance is to be given by the manufacturer. So this recommendation from the manufacturers should be followed by the operators who wish to maintain a safe and sound equipment. It also depends on where and how the equipment is used. So, for example, for us, where we maintain breathing air compressors, Bauer, which is the world's leading manufacturer of breathing air compressors, they recommend servicing after 1,000 hours or after a year, whichever comes first. But this also depends on the working conditions, how and where is the equipment used. For example, on a safari vessel, compressors on a safari vessel require shorter maintenance intervals, which means they need to maintain it more often compared to compressors that are in dive centers or in resorts, because these compressors in safari vessels are exposed to hostile environment, saline environment, which could affect the equipment. So now you asked about our list of protocols. It is quite long, but I'll share with you some of the highlights.
Yes.
First, we proactively alert our customers that their equipment is due for maintenance. And then second is we monitor the service based on the 5-year records that we have. So for all equipment, all compressors that we maintain, we keep records for 5 years. And our professionally trained technicians look at these records and they do pre-service checks before doing the maintenance so that they would know what to expect. And these services and this maintenance that we perform is warranted for 6 months. So bottom line is we take our time to plan before performing any service. And maintenance can be carried out on site or in our service center. It depends on the requirements of the customers.
Thank you, Miss Erica. I would like to ask Mr. Jamshad, how often do you find out vessels who are not following the marine safety regulations, and why do you think they're not following the regulations in the first place?
Thank you very much. When we go back, let's say 10 to 15 years back, uh, we find a lot of vessels, especially the small boats, they don't follow these regulations. But if we compare past 3, 4 years, yesterday 2008, 17, 18, 19, that the recent time I'm talking about, most of the seafarers, the speedboat, safari, or the passenger vessels, they follow these rules and regulations. But there are some negligences also there. But we find the fishermen and the ferries and other seafarers, they try to follow these rules and regulations. And we randomly check these vessels from north to south using our Coast Guard squadrons. We randomly check all these vessels if they are following these standards. If they're not following, there are protocols we follow, and most of them they end up in penalty. So It's our responsibility to check and ensure their vessels are in good standards. So we check randomly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jamshad. Ms. Erika, I would like to ask you, MS Services has been in the industry for a long time. What is the most frequent issues or technical problems you've come across?
So MA Services has been in the industries providing specialized services for high pressure breathing air compressors since 1999. So that's 21 years of dedicated service in which we have come across multiple issues. But the most common technical issues earlier more than now is the maintenance issue. So customers buy equipment, they buy compressors without thinking of maintenance in mind. So they come back to us only if the compressor or the equipment develops a problem. And usually these are costly problems. And they neglect the maintenance of their own equipment, which is very, very costly in the end. This is why preventive maintenance should be carried out according to the manufacturer's recommendations. And before anything goes wrong, not just for compressors, but also for diving cylinders, diving equipment, all their mechanical equipment. They should get it checked. They should have visual inspection and regular servicing, like periodically. And the basic principle should be to maintain equipment according to the manufacturer's recommendations and specified intervals. Now, another issue that we encounter are some homemade modifications that are done by unapproved personnel. So whether it's use of non-genuine spare parts or modifying installations that is not in accordance to the purpose of the equipment. In the long run, this poses greater risks because manufacturers and trained professionals like us, we will decline liability for any consequence done by these unapproved modifications. And last but not the least, and we would like to emphasize on this, is that filter cartridges, which are essential to guarantee pure breathing air in our case, which is our concern, they are not often changed frequently enough. So more than the dive compressors and more than the dive equipment and marine equipment that we sell, our main concern is pure breathing air. And everyone should become more aware of the importance of frequently changing the filters. And Bauer, the manufacturer, highly recommends use of genuine filter cartridges to ensure breathing air quality that is safe and pure and meets the international standards.
Thank you, Ms. Erika. The marine industry is the lifeblood of the Maldivian economy and our livelihoods. I would like to ask Mr. Fazin, how can we increase awareness and compliance of marine safety, starting from boat owners all the way to the crew and the passengers?
We conduct regularly awareness programs to boat captains and owners. Also, like we distribute flyers and leaflets. We do it like every year. We do it throughout the country, islands, in atolls. We do it.
Thank you. Mr. Jamshad, in case a vessel is required to travel during bad weather, either for delivering essential cargo or other requirements, what would what would be your what what would be your recommendation? And are there any special permissions or for such a case? Please explain me the procedure.
Thank you. Bad weather, it's difficult to explain bad weather. A person who is very experienced, a seafarer, a sea state 5, 6 may not be bad weather for him. But a passenger vessels, a sea state 2 or 3 might be a bad weather. But let's talk about the level of let's say the alert level, weather alert level. If it is yellow alert, obviously it will be a very bad weather. And in case of bad weather, it's not advisable to travel. In case if they really want to travel, contact us at the Marine Police or Coast Guard. We'll see what we can do. If it is a person in distress, definitely we will attend. We will not stop for weather. We have vessels which can sustain sea stat 6, sea stat 7, and we have done it before and we'll do it again. Saving a life is a very precious, and that is most important role in our marine police and the coast guard. And if let's say if a seafarer want to take some goods, as your question said, they can wait for the weather to calm down. We are lucky that Maldives lies exactly on the equator, and the cyclones which are forming north and south of the equator, they travel not towards Maldives, they travel either towards Bay of Bengal or maybe towards the Middle East side or the African side. They doesn't travel towards Maldives. That's we are very lucky that we are in the equator. And but the effect, we do have the effect of the cyclones, but not the exact effect which the cyclone hits on the country. But we do have, we are very far away from that very recent cyclones which hit Sri Lanka and India. We had an effect on the northern part of the country. During these type of severe weather, it's not advisable to travel, and will not recommend any seafarers to travel, not even fishing vessels, travel during this severe weather. In case if they really want to take something, it's very, very important. Get help from us. We'll see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jamshad. My next question for Erica. Can you explain what are some of the safety and maintenance trainings offered by MS services, and what can they expect to learn from these training sessions, and what would they gain from these training programs?
ME Services periodically offers trainings and technical courses for compressor maintenance. So we usually invite technicians and engineers from Bauer Compressor in Germany, and we also hold annual regulator service. We invite professionals from Scuba Pro. They're the professional diving equipment company, and they teach divers and anyone interested in the industry to maintain and service their own equipment to the latest and best safety standards. So participants in these courses get in-depth knowledge on the workings of their equipment. So they don't just know what it is for, but how it works. And when you have that understanding of how a product works, you give it the respect and proper care it deserves.
Thank you, Ms. Erica. This question is for all participants. I'll give a moment for each. The question is for those who do not consider marine safety and maintenance seriously or see no value in such, what would your suggestions be to such a person? Firstly, I would like to ask this question to Mr. Fazin.
Said that some boat owners and captains don't follow the safety regulations. It is important for them to know that if anything happens, because uh, when they are on a journey, the, the, the responsibility of the crew is on the boat captain and the owner. Like if anything happens to them, they will be liable, like uh, responsible for the loss or destruction. So it is always advised to follow the rules and regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Fazin. Mr. Jamshad, what are your thoughts on this?
Thank you. I would like to add a point to my colleague Fazni. The responsibility lies with the captain. It's true, the responsibility lies with the captain, but my view on that is to be different. The responsibility lies with everyone, starting from the owner, starting from the passenger and the captain and the crew. If anything happens to the vessel, it's not only the captain responsible. Before we travel, especially the passengers, they have to ensure that the vessel they are traveling is up to the standard. Are they traveling in a good weather condition? Or the vessels, do they have life jackets? So these are the few things that the passengers also needs to ensure. The captain should ensure the safe passage from point A to point B. That's obvious. That's correct. But the owner and the passengers, they also have responsibilities. They have to ensure this. And lack of or not following the safety standards. That means the ship owner or the vessel owner or the let's talk about the passenger wise. If they're not following the safety standards, the passengers please do not travel on that vessel. Safety standard is very important. If the owners are not following this safety, that means something wrong with the owner, some problem is there. And we are always randomly checking and trying to locate these type of vessels. We will not allow them to travel if they are not following the standards, especially the safety standards. Police Transport Authority has given a standard to each vessel. It differs from the vessel size. And if they are not following, we should say, very sorry, they have to follow the standards and we'll check. And before they leave home, we check again if they are following the standards. We are not talking about the lives of only the crew and the passenger. I mean, the crew and the captain. We are talking the life of everyone on board. So safety is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jamshad. Miss Erica, what are your suggestions in this?
Well, we don't have to look far. We just need to learn from the nightmares of the past. Maybe some of you remember the accident in 2008. Maybe Mr. Fazin and Mr. Jamshad remembers it. There was this 2008 dive accident in Maldives, which reached international news and media outlets. And it should be enough if the boat owners who don't take maintenance and safety seriously, that accident should be enough for them to take it seriously. One diver tragically died, and several others were injured in a serious accident because of breathing air contamination. So, for that boat owner or boat diver that don't take seriously safety and maintenance, we just think about their role. When you're a live aboard boat owner, you have some divers, you have a group of tourists who come in Maldives for a holiday that they've been looking forward to for so long. As a boat owner, you are just a link to the chain. And on this level, you should never fail your customer. You should never fail these tourists who come to Maldives fulfilling a dream of seeing paradise and seeing the ocean, and just disappoint them by a failure of equipment. So that's why preventive maintenance is very important. And failure of equipment should be the last thing that should be happening. These tourists, they can forgive if there will be a rain or a storm. Those things are beyond our control. But if there will be failure on equipment, then that's something unacceptable. That's something they cannot forgive. And these people who paid lots of money for these kinds of holidays, they expect nothing less than great standard from us. So therefore, preventive maintenance is of utmost importance.
I completely agree with you, Miss Erica. My last question goes to both Mr. Jamshad and Mr. Fazin. Compared to global standards, are we lagging behind or are we on the same level in terms of marine safety and maintenance? Mr. Fazin?
I believe that the law that we are having is a bit outdated because the marine law that we are having is 1978 law. But still, I will say that most of things that we have, everything is there in the law, and it is according to the international best practice that we are doing everything. So then law needs to be updated. That's what I have. Thank you.
Mr. Jamshad?
Thank you again. Uh, Compared to the global standards, our country lies 99% sea, only 1% land. And if you compare to the global standards, we are very much close to the international standards. I cannot say we are exactly in the same level of the of our neighboring country or the global standards, but we are reaching there, and hopefully we'll reach a global standard very soon. And when we talk about global standards, uh, the seafarers, most of the vessels use a simple equipment called GPS, which most of the even the a small dinghy will have a GPS when they're traveling. That's one of the very important equipment they carry. Let's say, what do we get from the GPS? The location is most important. So they know their location exactly where they are when they are traveling, and they know the speed. And there's so many things they can find out from the GPS. My point is, when using a GPS, our charts, especially the Maldivian water, the charts, the survey is very, very old. So the same chart is there in the GPS, and they might find let's say when they look at the Malay area, this area chart, they might find, on the chart, they have the Male, and the bridge also might be there. They might think that's okay. This is very recent chart. Yes, it could be a recent addition, but the survey is very old. My point is, when they're traveling, especially in the atolls, inside the atolls, don't rely 100% on the GPS. They have to have a local knowledge. If they have the local knowledge, please use that local knowledge and compare with the GPS.
Thank you,
There's so
Ms.
many areas in Maldives. Sorry?
Thank you, Mr. Jamshad. On that note, I would like to give each of you a moment to brief on anything you would like to add to your points.
Okay.
Firstly, Mr. Fazin.
I I would like to mention that for safety and safety equipments and to follow the rules, it is very important for the captains and uh, to the boat owners to know that, because uh, when something happens, when saving lives, it is if they are not properly equipped and if they don't follow the safety regulations, then disasters can happen. To prevent these things, it's very important to follow the safety regulations.
Thank you, Ms. Erica.
In everything that we do in MA services, our motto is to never compromise on safety. And we would like to extend this value, this motto, to other marine operators. And we are very pleased that a growing number of operators, especially dive centers, are paying attention to breathing air standards and wish to be recognized for this. And we would like to take this opportunity, since Mr. Fazin and Mr. Jamshad are here, and major stakeholders are watching right now, to call for an implementation of regulations to ensure safety in all marine operations, especially in with regards to breathing air standards. As Mr. Fazin mentioned earlier, the laws are from 1978, so I think it's high time to keep it updated. And as representatives of Bauer Compressor, we have been promoting Bauer initiatives for pure air safe diving. Uh, in the Maldives, we have certified many stations that fulfill the Bauer pure air standard, which basically dive centers, or these dive stations, they comply to the international standards of DIN N 12021 for pure breathing air. And we genuinely hope that with the support of the stakeholders, international breathing air standards will be implemented by law, so that we can make Maldives not just the world's leading destination, but the world's leading safe destination.
Thank you. Lastly, Mr. Jamshad, what are your thoughts on this?
Um, as we all are on the same picture, I think we should follow rules and regulations. That's number one. If you want to uh, be safe, always follow rules and regulations. And in case of an emergency, always remember Marine Police, Coast Guard, we are there. Call 191 is toll-free number, 24/7. We are on duty and we'll be there to save your lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all participants for your insightful views. Marine safety and maintenance is an important topic for boat owners, crews, and passengers. Your views enforce the industry to move forward with awareness on this topic. I'm Ashad Naifa from Marine Expo. Thank you all viewers close and afar. Have a good evening.